Oh my god, it's been so long since I've done one of these. But with the new Legends game wandering on the horizon, taking place in what will become Kalos, now's the perfect time to finally jump back into ranking gym leader designs. As always, I'm scoring these designs based on how clear their preferred type is, cause if the whole point of your job is to use one type of Pokemon, you'd better show that off. How much personality we get from their designs, because why just wear a purple t-shirt when you could be a ninja instead, and overall quality, because at the end of the day, if the design looks like poo, you don't get to win dress-up contests. Kalos is nice and straightforward, so there's no other stipulations to discuss for this one, except to remember that this is just my opinion, which may end up different from yours. So if you think the list should have shaken out differently, then too bad!
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 13, Viola. Viola is honestly what's kept me from working on this video for so long. She's just so... nothing. Not terrible enough to rant about, but also not noteworthy in any way to really praise. I'd start thinking about the gym leaders, get to her first, and go meh, and think about anything else instead. I'll concede that it's a nice enough color palette, and I do like her hair resembling antenna for her buggies, and it's nearly cheating, but her permanent prop of a camera does make her profession obvious at a glance. It's all just so fucking boring. Every other bug-type user approaches design in a more noteworthy way. The most interesting part of Viola's design is the butterfly-shaped hairpin you can never see because it's at the back of her head. So just walk away, Viola, and go find some better pants.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 12, Wulfric. From the first gym leader of the region straight to the last, Wulfric gives us just as little as Viola, definitely getting held back by his whole personality boiling down to those guys who wear shorts and flip-flops when it snows like they think it makes them special. I'd probably like the design better if he actually wore the jacket. Even though I like the idea of it looking like a cape, his tank top and sweatpants ruins any sort of regal or important vibe that offers. I will say, I do quite like Wulfric's color palette. Having the pop of red gives a lot of flavor to an ice-type user in a way that I'd really like to see more often.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 11, Drasna. I wish I liked Drasna's design more, but there's just nothing to get behind here. She's nice but strong. Wow, a sentence that applies to practically every character. In theory, I like her dragon-styled accoutrement, but it sort of just ends up giving Ooga Booga Caveman more than Dragon Woman. The only thing that stops me from thinking she uses rock-type fossils is that her name is the word dragon with a sneeze in the middle, and under the dragon accessories is just a boring brown ensemble. My favorite part of Drasna's design is that her eyes are always closed. Closed eyes characters gotta be one of my favorite genders for real.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 10, Cybold. Cybold is handsome, but unfortunately decided to dress like a total dweebo. His ludicrously high collar has always looked stupid. I just can't get over it, and neither can his nose. And really, with his only personality trait being chef, we aren't doing anything all that interesting with that idea beyond making his ace the first step in a lobster bisque. I like the sleek use of blue and clear seafoam designs in his outfit to convey his water typing, but I've also always hated the silhouette of his apron for no good reason. It just looks too long, too shapeless, too heavy. If he ever moved at a speed quicker than a soft trot, it'd probably tangle itself around his legs.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 9, Diantha. Diantha's a hard one to judge because she's clearly very pretty, but also, that's all she is. She gets really held back in the personality department simply because she doesn't have one. She's a strong beauty like Cynthia, but lacks all the interesting character and nuance that helped to bolster Cynthia's design elements. For all it's worth, Diantha's design is an in-game ad, featuring fancy, expensive clothing her manager put her in. Replace her with a mannequin and you lose nothing but a silly hairstyle. I will say, I also ranked her quite high in regards to having a clear type, and it's because I'm trolling. Now, as champion, Diantha doesn't use one specific type, and I'd say she mostly looks like she either uses normal or fairy due to her color palette and wingling accessories, and I do like that that alludes to her Gardevoir in a way. But moreover, the most common type on her team is actually rock, and well, her hair looks like rocks.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 8, Olympia. Olympia has a design that is really saved by a very cool cape. This galaxy effect is the design. Admit it, you didn't remember she's got a moon on her calf or a hoop around her shoulders. You think of Olympia, and you think of a small galaxy with a floating head. Remove the cape, and you lose everything this has to offer. I've also got to be honest, even though I love that Game Freak just says fuck it when it comes to hairstyles, this is just a bit too much. I can't grasp this. How does it work? I've seen Hot Wheels tracks that make more sense than this. I know this sounds like a lot of bitching, but I did give her full points for design for a reason. If she just had more going on than just space, she'd have gone much higher.
Space!
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 7. Grant. Grant, or as I like to call him, get it? His hair is rocks. Grant's unique hairstyle is sort of the only thing worth talking about with him. Give him a haircut and he's just a guy who's into rock climbing. It all certainly means you aren't gonna miss what his preferred type is, that's for sure. Similar to Viola, I wish there was just more going on here. Kalos has this unfortunate habit of having its Pokemon League be full of people wearing just normal boring clothes, which is whack because the region's whole deal is fashion. At least Grant's black shirt looks nice, certainly nicer than Wolfrick's white tank top, but I wish he wasn't stuck hanging off a cliff in his artwork. Let's see if we can find any more pictures of him. Oh my god!
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 6. Clement. Similar to Grant, Clement saved himself by being as overt with his preferred type as possible. Electrician's outfit, yellow accent everywhere, he even made his satellite dish resemble his ace Heliolisk, which I actually really like. It's just a bummer that, like many of his contemporaries, Clement's design isn't interested in doing much beyond conveying his occupation. And similar to Olympia, his design is effectively just his one accessory. The inventor lighting up the world, but without his backpack, he's just a kid in a boiler suit. He's an electric-flavored super nerd, and that's all there is to say about this design.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 5. Ramos. I think Ramos might be the most forgettable gym leader this franchise has ever had. I can't ever recall him when I'm going through gym leaders. An absolute enigma for a guy who technically does everything right. Old Man Gardener is everything on the back of the tin, and those 3 words do everything a gym leader's design needs to do. I think it's less that the Men in Black have flashbanged me to forget Ramos, and rather that there's no points of interest to recall with him. He's not even bolstered by a fancy cape or a backpack. His scissors are often out of sight during gameplay, and his red scarf draws the most attention anyway. I do know one way to make Ramos more memorable though. It's by pointing out that he has the same weapon as Konomi from Magic Record.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 4. Karina. You may think Karina gets a boost in the personality score because of how involved with the main story she is, but actually, it's just because they gave her a job that's actually interesting. Roller Derby Girl is a great way to approach a fighting type gym without just doing Karate Champion for the millionth time. I can't be the only one who thinks her hair sticking out of her helmet looks pretty stupid though, can I? Even Pokemon Masters were like, girly, let's fix that. This is also where the disappointment of, why don't fighting type girls get to have real muscles starts to set in. So get excited to hear me bitch about that every time we get a female fighting type gym leader moving forward.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 3. Wickstrom. Making a Steel-type user a knight so you can put them in a full metal suit of armor is so smart, I can't believe it didn't happen before Generation 5. Wickstrom's color palette always throws me off. It's almost the same as his Aegislash, but really he looks more like an Ultra Ball. Unfortunately, all of Wickstrom's most interesting traits are sort of out of his hands. The fan theory that he's a ghost has nothing to do with his design. His armor, resembling Kamado's in Arceus Legends, gives us little new information to work with. And even more unfortunately, is how no one seems to know how to make him handsome outside of the official artwork. But you know what? A Steel-type knight in armor certainly fulfills my criteria for this ranking.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 2. Malva. I could spend time ranting and raving about how disappointing it is that the most interesting Team Flare member doesn't reveal herself as a member of the evil team until after you've already dismantled their organization. But I think there's plenty of videos about that already, so instead, I'll just talk about how sick these pants are, for Team Flare's whole gimmick being making a beautiful world with money. They all sure do look like ass. Malva seems to be the only one who got the memo that the team should actually look good. She's trendy and hip, giving off her fire typing not only with the red hot pants and sunglasses, but with the slick pink hair too. Pink for fire types is something we should definitely see more of. It also helps that, for the generation where everyone just dresses for their job, Malva's a news anchor. Why did I say it so weird? Which means getting to dress fashionably and professionally too. Between her and Lysander, I totally get how Team Flare got so many people signing up to join.
Oh,
Smash.
Smash.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's that Pokemon?
Number 1. Valerie. Are you really surprised? Look at her! She's elegant, ethereal, gossamery. With the introduction of the new strongest type in the game, Valerie had some big shoes to fill, which is why she grabbed her tallest platforms for work. Valerie needed to show just how does Game Freak make Fairy not just bug painted pink, and they nailed it! The color palette, the silhouette, the Lolita fashion. Valerie is the first thing I think of if I think of Kalos. She's the first thing I think of if I think of the fairy type. It's a generation where everyone else just wore their normal clothes to work. Valerie is the only one who seemingly wanted to go the extra mile and look like someone worthy of giving out badges. I like to compare Valerie to Jasmine and Karen. All of them were representing a new type getting introduced to the games, and I'd say Valerie's the only one who cared about that sort of distinction. Which is funny, because Valerie also hails from Johto, the maiden from the land of history. Her dress has clear kimono inspirations to the point she's confused for a kimono girl in Masters EX, and I think that's the thing that really pushes Valerie to the top. I spent a lot of time whinging on and on about the lack of personality with this group of leaders, and Valerie's the only one with, like, a character to talk about. She is more than an occupation or an accessory, all while also being one of the prettiest characters in the whole dang franchise. Valerie absolutely deserves to stand amongst the other number ones, and if you disagree, you're factually wrong. I think it may be pretty obvious that I'm not a huge fan of the Kalos region, but this video has been a lot more fun than I expected, opting to lean into the funnies rather than just repeat the same points of color theory, silhouettes, typing over and over and over. I do hope you had fun, even if you disagree with my ranking, and I'm looking forward to the next one, now that we're out of the boring zone, and I really do promise it won't take 1,000,000,001 years to get to Alola's ranking.
Folks were told to stay off roadways unless absolutely, positively necessary.
I wanted donuts.
This is the meal I have prepared for you today, Chef. This is worse than the Holocaust. Thank you, Chef.
From the Manatee County Fair, Linda Carson, ABC7, Would You Not Eat My Pants? Ah!